Hello, brothers, and welcome to the first episode of the Theta Omicron Old Gold Pikecast. I'm your host, Dave Pittman. This is my senior composite photo from 1984, and as you'll soon see, I've barely changed, as I'm sure all of you look exactly the same too. But for now, we will go on, and I want you to know that I'm having a little difficulty sharing my webcam. There we go. Okay. So the Pikecast is a new way to share information and keep you updated about our chapter, about Indiana State University, and about the Pike International Fraternity. And I'm pretty sure when I was inactive, it wasn't even international yet. It's just national. So things have changed. We plan to produce this Pikecast quarterly, and we want you to watch out for it in emails. We now have a monthly newsletter that comes out. That just came out this week. So watch for it there. If you're on the Facebook Alumni Association group, watch for postings there as well. We'll post those events, and you can sign up and register. If you ever have anything that you want us to cover, just drop a line via email to Theta Omicron Alumni Association at gmail.com, or tell us on the Alumni Association Facebook page. So with that, I am excited that we have some breaking news in our very first episode. I feel like I'm really breaking the story here. I have one of our current actives is going to join us. His name is Dave Peterson. Dave, thank you for joining us on very short notice.
Thanks for having me, David.
So what is this big breaking news?
So the big breaking news is Theta Omicron won their 13th consecutive President's Cup this last Monday at the Fraternity and Sorority Awards. The Fraternity and Sorority Awards are held annually, and they are to recognize chapters and individuals for their accomplishments in the last year.
That is pretty awesome. 13th consecutive, you said?
Yep, 13 out of 13. The President's Cup has only been awarded 13 times, and Theta Omicron has won all 13.
Awesome. Congratulations. That probably means that they'll retire that in about 2 years if you keep winning.
I hope they keep on going.
So the President's Cup wasn't even a thing when I was there, obviously, because I've been gone for a little bit longer than 13 years. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it is?
Yeah, so the President's Cup is kind of the key award for the Fraternity and Sorority Awards. It's kind of the biggest trophy they have. It's the best chapter on campus. All the chapters are judged over risk management, academic development, alumni relations, chapter management, community service and philanthropy, leadership development, and new member education. So all chapters are given the same questions. They all fill them out, and they're judged by those. Excellent.
Well, again, congratulations on that. And one thing I meant to ask you at the top is, what is your role now with the chapter?
So I served last fall as the Vice President of Community Service and Philanthropy, and I'm currently President-elect.
Very good. Well, good luck in your term as President-elect.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We look forward to having you on future episodes, too.
Looking forward.
So we have 3 other featured guests tonight. Our first is going to be Kim Novak. She is the Director of Health and Safety at Pi Kappa Alpha International, but she also has some other excellent credentials. She's a nationally recognized expert in student-focused risk management, organization conduct, hazing prevention, and involving students in campus safety efforts. She is an independent consultant that speaks nationally on these topics, as well as serving on the Pi Kappa Alpha board. Sorry, blanking out there. So if you're tweeting tonight, though, I do encourage you to give her a shout out on Twitter at Novak Talks. So Kim, welcome to the Pikecast.
Thank you, David. I'm excited to be here. This is a cool concept, and I wish more of our alumni groups would step up, but I'm not surprised that your group is the one that has stepped up.
Well, you're going to be talking to us a little bit about how to keep guys smart and help them stay safe. Now, I remember, I don't have a lot of memories, but some of them are pretty vivid. And back in my day, we had this event called Winter Jam. We hosted a lot of parties, but Winter Jam was the biggest. It was like an air guitar contest, and we held it in the Armory, which is basically right on campus at ISU. One year, at least one year, we even had other fraternities that fielded bands. So it was a huge thing. There were tons of kegs and lots of people. But I understand things have changed a little bit. 2 weeks ago, the Interfraternity Council at IU unanimously voted to suspend all Greek activities for at least a few months. Ball State here in Indiana has already suspended Greek organizations. Florida State just recently became the 8th university in the country to shut down its Greek system. So I'm guessing maybe Winter Jam couldn't happen these days.
Well, interestingly enough, Winter Jam could happen these days. I can totally understand why our alums might feel like no more fun in the fraternal movement. And unfortunately, what really these closures, campus closures, or really their short-term interim closures are responding to are some pretty catastrophic incidents, or the frequency of incidents where we're not doing the right thing. And so what I would tell you is that we couldn't have kegs at our Winter Jam these days. That was outlawed about 15 years ago. There's a lot of conversation now where we're even trying to eradicate hard liquor from chapter events across the country, even though that's been on the books for quite some time. And really under our focus as a fraternity, our biggest change, and most of the alums are aware of this, is that we've shifted from that old risk awareness mentality to a mentality of how do we fundamentally help our undergraduate men just do the right thing and not overemphasize those fear-driven messages of liability and policy. So today, what would happen is myself or one of the consultants or one of the advisors would actually help you plan that party in a way that could be epic, memorable, and at the same time safe.
Very good. When I went through Rush, one of the things that really attracted me to Pikes was they had a policy of dry rush. You know, when I was going through, I felt like that was the best way for me to really get to know the guys and what they were all about. At the time, we were the only fraternity on campus that was doing that. Now, as I understand it, Pike International has taken a leadership role in Greek organizations across the country in helping to educate. I'm sure this is what your job is day in and day out, helping educate chapters and establish those policies that you were talking about. Can you give us maybe a little overview of what the Pike Health and Safety Program looks like?
Sure. The key aspect of the health and safety message is that, again, we're really trying to emphasize the fundamentally doing the right thing as opposed to the old message of fear-driven tactics of lawsuits and liability. And our core goal really covers three key areas. One is how do we help our undergraduate men establish the expectations, not just from the international fraternity, but for their own individual chapter or what might be inclusive from their own IFC community. How do we communicate what it looks like to be a man of Pi KA on a particular campus or nationally? And then how do we assist those men in developing interventions when they know there could be a problem? Historically, we looked at compliance, and now what we really look at is what are some of the things that our undergraduate men might struggle with when trying to maintain their own expectations and standards, whether it be responsible drinking, maintaining a guest list, having their rush be dry, as everyone's is supposed to be in the country, and how do we help them develop systems for intervention that will decrease the likelihood that there'll be a problem. And then ultimately, probably the biggest conversation we'll be having at our CEC come January is about how do we help our men establish a culture of accountability, not just a standards board, but really how do we set that expectation that from the moment you take a bid from a Pike chapter through your lifelong membership, that you're part of that equation of holding each other accountable. And Pike Health and Safety is really in place to help develop resources and guides to help our men accomplish those things.
When you're dealing with college men, I would suspect that that may be a daunting task. So how do you go about it? What do you do?
I think the key thing, what we do is we open up the conversation and we provide support to them, first of all, by creating a space where it's okay to ask good questions. And our men are not afraid to come forward and whether it's to make a call or sit down at a Pike University event or visit with a consultant and simply say, here's an area that we need to do better and how can we do better. And what we really try to guide our chapters to do and where our alumni are so important is helping them to answer some pretty important questions about their own chapter. So how have they defined what's expected of them in their membership of the fraternity? And we have resources that help them frame that conversation, not just with the rules or the standards of Pike, but in the conversation of a fraternity man. We work with them to identify, what strategies do they have in place to make it easy for their membership to do what we want them to do. We used to spend a lot of time talking about what our men could not do, and we've really shifted off of that to talk more about what things are supposed to look like. And our chapters know best what keeps things from being ideal. So our goal and our responsibility is to help them create systems to help men meet their expectations. And finally, what we try to do with accountability is Pike is a very self-governed fraternity system, as you men know, from coming up through the chapter, and our current chapter men know, and that's something we're pretty proud of. So we try not to overscript or over-guide the operations of chapters. And to that end, we have a standards board guide that's new and recently developed to help our men train their judicial boards, but we don't restrict them in how they use that board. And we also try to integrate principles of bystander intervention and brotherhood conversations and coaching to help them with accountability. So ultimately, our primary goal is to just feed them as much resource as we can to help them do those three key things. Set those expectations, design systems to help men meet those expectations, and then when necessary, hold each other accountable.
Very good. Good luck in your task, and thank you again for joining us. I hope to have you back on for another episode.
Well, and thank you to the men of Pike in general for the support that they've given me. And I will tell you, I was at a national meeting with 1,500 fraternity and sorority life advisors, and the staff from Indiana State sought me out to tell me that their Pike chapter was the best Pike chapter in the country from their perspective. So thank you to the undergrads that are with us tonight, too, for that.
Yeah, indeed. Great to hear. All right. Next guest is Al Perrone. So many of you are familiar, probably everyone who's on this is familiar with Al. He is an alpha member of Theta Omicron. He literally helped feed the growth of the chapter, largely by allowing us to have all of our rush events at Pizza City. But he's still working to help keep the chapter on top and keep the guys performing at a high level. So Al, welcome. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Well, thanks for having me, David. Great to see you.
You too. It's been many years. Can you tell me what your job is now, both with the chapter and at ISU?
Sure. Well, at the university, I now work in the Dean of Students office. I serve as the Associate Dean of Students and Ombudsperson. And the Ombudsperson is student problem solver, something I always enjoyed doing as part of my job. Now it is my job. With the chapter, I serve as the academic advisor, as well as the new member education advisor, and as Dave Stowe says, the personal development advisor. I always step in when there are issues or concerns with individuals and try to help them out.
Excellent. That's exciting. Well, what about your role with the university? What are some of the resources that are available to help guys or anybody really across campus who may need some help?
Right. You can see there's a screenshot of one of the key pages for our academic resources below, and a picture of President Bradley there giving a presentation that says complete 15 hours per semester. That's a goal. We require everybody to keep their scholarships. They have to complete 30 hours a year to stay on target, and they'll graduate in 4 years. And we'll, try not to let people hang around for 5, 6 years. We want them to graduate in 4 years, so scholarships are tied to that. But you can also, and you might not be able to read all that, but those are all the resources. We have a Center for Student Success. So there are people that are focused on that. There are graduation specialists, so when people get close and are dropping out, they step in, get them back. The I Succeed program for people that just want to, from the beginning, know they're going to be challenged. We have a math and writing center, so students can go in and get things taken care of. They can, a lot of classes will send you to the Writing Center, and there are grad students that are English majors that will review your paper and then sit down and show you what your common errors are so that you can learn from that and grow from that. Over on the right side, you see we have a university college now, and that's new for most of you. All freshmen now report to the university college, and so their advisors are cross-trained. They're all in one building, so when you change your major, you don't change advisors. You get the same advisor. They know how to advise you until you're ready to declare your major, and after a year of success, you can then declare your major and go into your particular area. So all students are advised by professional advisors, not teachers that are doing it part-time or just part of their job until you get to a junior level in some of the areas. The residential learning communities, so that people live and learn with people in their major. Faculty are attached to them. There are live-in residential peer mentors. I teach a class, and there's someone that comes in and sits in the class every day to take attendance and make sure people are doing that. I teach high-risk students. There are supplemental instructors, so we know what classes freshmen typically don't do well in, so we put mostly pikes that know what they're doing in those classes, and they then sit in the class, they take notes, they have study sessions, and so students that don't know how to take notes, that don't know how to study, can meet with the people that have succeeded in those difficult classes in the past. Free tutoring, everybody gets free tutoring, and then there are labs in the science building to help you through all the tough things. Lots and lots of resources for people to succeed.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that the world still needs English majors too. So what is I'm just curious, what's the chapter's average GPA now?
The chapter's average GPA is much higher than it was when I was an undergraduate, but what's really interesting is as we've raised the bar, other chapters have done the same. So our chapter GPA right now is a 3.143. So they're above the 3-point range, which took us a long time to get there. The all fraternity sorority average is a 304. The all fraternity average is 296, and the undergraduate males is a 281. Now, you would think that would rank us first. We're usually first, and last spring, 2 chapters finished ahead of us with a 316. We were at a 314. So we're on their tails, and we're going to get them back, but they can have the limelight for a semester. We've had it for 39 years.
All right, Dave, you work on that. Al, what help do you have for guys in the chapter?
What resources? I'm
Yes.
sorry, what did you say? Okay. The resources that we do a lot of recognition for our men because we want them to achieve. So there are academic recognition plaques in the chapter for 3.0, 3.5, 4.0 each semester. And so those are updated, and that's a source of pride for people. More than half the chapter, obviously, is above a 3.0. We just started last fall with some academic Big Brother, something we did a long time ago, where so you can have someone in your major that is another Big Brother, and a major minor list, because not everybody knows. You might be having a class you're having trouble with, and there's someone in the chapter that's a major in there, and you may not have realized it. So we'll publish that as well. During the finals week, and the Hall of Presidents and the lecture hall both become 24-hour study areas, and so there's coffee, popcorn, snacks, so that people can have a place to go, a quiet place to go. There are lots of quiet places to go in the house, but on that week, the whole place is quiet hours.
Excellent. I would imagine in a chapter that has that many guys over 3.0, there are lots of scholarships being used.
Yes, there are.
So what do you have in the way of scholarships to help guys?
Okay, we through the ISU Foundation, thanks to our alums, we have over $100,000 in an endowment fund, and it's broken into 14 different scholarships right now. Each of them are given out in the spring. There's they've simplified my life by we used to do our own applications, and now there's a thing called the branch. We got a tree theme going. So the branch is a place where all the scholarships are, so students can go in January and apply for the scholarships. We have questions with ours. You have to be a Pike A to get one of ours. And so those are highly sought after, and we give those out each year along with 2 of the endowed scholarships through the Pike Educational Foundation, and those are both $1,000 each. We give scholarships to any new member who gets a 4.0 or a 3.5 or above in their first semester. So the semester they pledge, 3.5 and above get a $200 scholarship, and 4.0s get a $400 scholarship. And then we have an educational account that's just that we could give scholarships, but we could also do other educational things like sending people to leadership conference and other special events. Back when we first got the house, we bought the router and the internet so that we could have all that in the house because we didn't have the money for it. We've done in the past scholarship dinners for all the guys that achieve a 3.0. So finding ways to use that money, like one of the special events I just ordered today, a table at the Martin Luther King Jr. dinner, which we've done for probably the past 15 years, the only fraternity that does that. A bunch of young kids going into a program where they're the minority, and it's a great program with a great speaker, and the guys fall over each other to try and get one of those 8 seats. So we do some different unique things with your money. We really appreciate the scholarship. We just did a little fundraising this fall, and a little fundraiser that took in about $5,000 or $6,000, and so we appreciate that because that's going to help fund a lot of those projects that I just talked about.
Excellent.
So thank you, alumni.
I'm just going to do a little sidebar here of my own. I'm currently in the process of trying to establish a scholarship that will be awarded to a Pike who exhibits leadership qualities, which pretty much they all do. I was inspired to create this after the recent death of Jeff Osborne, who was a Delta class. He was also a former SMC, as well as a close friend and a mentor to me. One of the cool things that I've learned in going through this process is that many people can go in together to create a scholarship. I've reached out to several of my buddies, from my era who knew Jeff in particular, and several of us are trying to form that scholarship now. If you are interested, I know some of you on the line are from our era. If you're interested in that, please get in touch with me or Al or any of us. Al, he and I have been working together. So Al, I do look forward to working with you on selecting or having you. I won't get a say in it, but you'll get a say in who is the recipient for that. And thank you very much for joining. I know that you will for sure be on many, many of these episodes, and I look forward to having you back.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, David. Good to see you.
Chapter Eternal, I just recently mentioned Jeff Osborne. Jeff passed away in September. It's been a rough fall for Theta Omicron. We also lost Tim Froderman in September, right about the same time as Jeff. And then just last week, John Childress died unexpectedly. So I ask that all of you please keep their families in your thoughts and prayers. And with that, I'm going to invite Jason Hill to come on. Jason is the president of the Theta Alumni Association. And Jason, I'd like you to share with us some good news. So welcome to the program.
Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And a very public thank you to you, David, for putting this together. I think we're all excited about the possibilities of this. And you have been the brains and the driving force behind this, and it's awesome. I'm just looking at some of the comments that we're getting through the interface, and I think we're excited about it. And so thank you a ton for taking the time out of your life to pull this together. It's awesome, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You said I was the brains. I think you also meant to say and the beauty, but we all know that. We just assume that. Tell us about some of the big things. One of the biggest events every year is homecoming. So how was homecoming 2017?
Homecoming gets better every year, and I'm not just saying this. If you haven't been a part of homecoming in a while, you will be blown away by what Indiana State has done around homecoming. And so I want to first thank everyone who takes the time to come. It is a very family-friendly event, and every year we're seeing more and more alumni who come back, and they're just shocked by what a great experience it is. And to give you a feel for what homecoming week typically looks like, on Friday at 4 o'clock is the trike race. And so the women begin, and then thereafter is the men's race. And trike is every bit as exciting as you remember it being. And so it is, they've got stands now. You can bring your kids and watch trike race, and it is great. And the Pikes invariably always have a ton of excitement and enthusiasm, and if you haven't been, it's every bit as good as you remember trike being. We organize house tours. A big thank you to David A.P. Stowe. Last year he stuck at the house so that he could give tours to anybody who was in town and maybe hadn't had a chance to see it yet. And there are a ton of alumni who will then use that Friday night to get together with other people either from their era or maybe take their spouse or family and show them around Terre Haute and relive some of those memories. And so that's typically Friday. Saturday morning is the blue and white parade, and so that begins at 9 o'clock, and it really goes down through downtown Terre Haute. Our very own Al Perone and his silky voice does the MC for that, and so typically a lot of the guys will stand in front of the ISU Foundation and see the Pike float as it comes by, and it's always a really fun time. And then Tent City is one of the premier events as part of homecoming, and it is essentially where different organizations, fraternities, sororities, but also the School of Business, the School of Education, RHA, a ton of organizations on campus have their own tents. It's around the perimeter of the football stadium, and it's a tremendous opportunity to walk around and see all of the momentum that's taking place at Indiana State. There is a ton of it, and you really feel great about the university and what they're doing, part of Tent City. We always have a tent there. We try to together. And then the football game is that afternoon at 3 o'clock, and so if you haven't had a chance to come to homecoming, do so. It gets better every year, and you'll be impressed with it. A couple of the highlights from the active chapter standpoint, they once again had another great year at homecoming. They were the first overall fraternity at the awards at the end of it. The first overall pairing, they were paired with Chi Omega this year. First in Sycamore Sync, which is, Sycamore Sync is kind of the current iteration of Winter Jam, I would say, where the fraternities and sororities perform in like a dancing song type competition. Float, they won every award there was to win for the float this year. The float looked awesome, and it was a ton of work, but it was in no way to denigrate anybody else, but it was a stark contrast between the Pike float and the others, and it was evident the amount of work that went into it. It was just organized well and executed great. The trike team finished 5th this year. They would be quick to point out, and it's accurate, that they had a broken chain at maybe lap 18 or 19. They were leading or in first or second place, had the chain break, and then weren't able to recover from that. But that's an example of the excitement that takes place around trike. So another great year for the chapter, and a huge thanks to Andrew Heil, who was the homecoming chair. All of us can remember all of the trials and tribulations of being a homecoming chair and trying to get people to pull this together. And so Andrew did an amazing job and represented the chapter, the international fraternity, all of the alums so well in what they did. And a huge thank you to David Stowe. Every time I was there, David Stowe was right in the thick of it. And all of us can remember so many of our fond memories are the things that we learned as a part of pulling together the float and pulling together homecoming. And that's what made our college experience what it was. And Dave Stowe is the one who's having those late night, early morning conversations with these guys to help them pull that all together. And so a huge thank you to Dave and recognition for all of his work. It was a ton of work. And so thank you to him for doing it.
Absolutely. Daps, thank you, man. Working hard as always. So, Jason, I know that this was a great homecoming, but it wasn't a super homecoming. I've heard about super homecoming, but I don't really know what it is. I'm sure some of the other guys don't either. So please enlighten us. What is Super Homecoming?
Super Homecoming. This is an idea that we got from the Pikes at Iowa State, and it's essentially to say, if you're going to attend one homecoming, because you can't attend them all, you just can only attend every few years. If you're going to attend one homecoming, attend the Super Homecoming. It is your best chance of seeing the most alumni, is at Super Homecoming. We do it once every 5 years. It coincides with the 5-year anniversary of the chapter. So this will be coinciding with the 40th anniversary of the chapter this year. It's going to be next year, 2018, so you can mark your calendar now. It's going to be October 12th and 13th. And so the 12th will be the Friday, chance to see the trike, check out campus. Campus is unbelievable. I don't want to go into that too much, but if you haven't been back to campus in 20 years, you won't recognize it. It's great. Then the 13th will be Tent City and the Blue and White Parade. And if you can mark your calendars to be there, you will be pleased with it. If you need any help getting a hotel, where to eat, any of that stuff, reach out to me and the other guys in the Alumni Association. We do everything that we could to make sure that that's a good weekend for you and your family. And also, if you'd like to get involved to help, we would love to welcome as many ideas as we could on what we can do to make it a bigger and better gathering for all of our alumni. So feel free to reach out to me. We will value your time and pull this together. So October 12th and 13th, 2018, Super Homecoming, once every 5 years, our biggest, best homecoming celebration and your greatest opportunity to see the most alumni.
Excellent. I wasn't able to go this year, but I went last year, and it was an outstanding time. I had so much fun. Got together with a bunch of the old guys and met a bunch of new guys, went through the house, and the house, I'll tell you more about the house in a little bit, but just mark it on your calendar, October 12th and 13th next year. But Jason, that's still a pretty long way away. That's almost a year. So what is in store between now and then?
You know, one of the other big events that we have got coming up, this will be our second year for our Founders Day celebration. And so this is something that we began last year, we're doing this year. It's going to be an annual event for us, and it coincides with the founding of the International Fraternity on the 1st of March that year, and the Theta O founding on March 3rd. And so we're going to have it Saturday, March 3rd, 2018. Last year we did one event in 3 locations, recognizing that everybody can make it to Terre Haute. We had one event, we had one in the northern Indianapolis suburbs in Noblesville. We had Terre Haute, and then Sam Cubby Jones hosted an event in Bloomington. And so it was an opportunity for alumni to get together with other people in their area to celebrate Founders Day. And so we're going to do it again this year on Saturday, March 3rd. One event in, we're kind of open to the locations that we have. If somebody feels like they can get guys together in their area, we would welcome that opportunity. We want to see as many guys get involved as we can. So feel free to reach out to me, and we will pull that together. But if you can mark your calendar for Saturday, March 3rd, I'm sure we'll have something in Terre Haute, have something in the northern Indianapolis suburbs, and then if there are other locations, reach out to me. We would love to get as many guys involved as we can.
Sounds great. And I'm just looking here in the chat, and one of my guys from my era said, oh, maybe we should have a torchlight parade. And there is a story behind that. So join us at Homecoming next year. We can tell you about the torch. But it's a good story. All right. So Jason, one of my favorite things about the Theta O Alumni Facebook group is the Military Brother of the Month feature. And that was started by Brandon Baisden, I believe, wasn't it?
It was. And just a huge thank you to Brandon Baisden. He identified this as an opportunity to recognize these brothers who have sacrificed for all of us, and took this on himself. Is the one who drives this every time it's published. And just a gigantic thank you to him for seeing a need and filling it, and he has done such a great job with this, and I want to publicly thank him for all that he's done.
Yeah, me too. For December, the Theta O Military Brother of the Month is Dave Brown. Brother Brown is from the Roe class. He served in the Air Force for 28 years, retiring in 2014 as a colonel. His service took him to Italy, the United Arab Emirates, and to Kuwait twice. So Colonel Brown, we salute you and we thank you. I hope you are enjoying your retirement, my friend. And with that, we're nearing the end. I just want to share with you some of these beautiful photos of the fabulous Pike House. And first of all, the Pikes have a house. I mean, come on. So many of us dreamt of one day having a house, and now they not only have a house, it is phenomenal. You have to go see it. Seriously, can it look any more amazing than this? Jason, you had a story about how these decorations came to be.
Yeah, I want to recognize the Theta Omicron brother who decorates this house. John Jones, who graduated circa 1990 probably, is a brother who has done the windows at Marshall Fields in Chicago, and is really someone who has done a lot with visual merchandising for some of the biggest names in the world. And he is the one who has designed and conceived of this house decorations. If you are anywhere near Terre Haute sometime through the holidays, please take a chance to drive by the house. You will be shocked. There is nothing like it, not just on campus. In Terre Haute, it looks beautiful. And so it will be the kind of thing you'll want to get your picture taken in front of. It'll be Christmas card 2018 for you. It really looks awesome. So a huge thank you to John Jones, because he's the one who has done this, and it represents everyone so well.
And if you can't make it during the holidays, again, plan to meet us there, Founders Day or Homecoming next year, or just anytime you're in the area, contact Al, contact Jason. They can hook you up with somebody that can give you a tour of the house. And with that, I want to sign off. Thank you very much for watching. Please keep in touch. Keep us updated with what you're doing. Update your contact info at gotrees.org, or email us anything that you want at Theta Omicron Alumni Association @gmail.com. Thanks to all our guests, and bula bula.